The race to Qatar is almost over. We got the last round, the race in Qatar, coming up this next week on Friday, the 10th of December. And we have a very, very stacked start list for both the men and the women's race in this grand final. We're going to look at the men, at how the race can unfold, and predict how this race will be won and who will get a good result here. And we're going to look at the women, of course, later on in the week. But for the men, everybody's there. Almost every hard hitter is on the start list. We've got the entire top 10 here. We've got so many wildcards. It's absolutely incredible. 11 out of those 20 athletes that will be on the start line are contracted to the PTO. The other 10 are hotshots or wildcards. And we've got every single person that is any chance of a good result on the overall classification here right now. And we're going to look at the top 10 standings. Everybody of the top 10 is here. We got Hayden Wild obviously in first place, Jelle Geens just behind him, and in third place we have Mika Noot. So Hayden Wild, he just needs to finish on the podium or in front of Jelle Geens and Mika Noot, and he is the world champion of 2025. Jelle Geens needs to win this race with Hayden Wild being outside of the top 3 in order to win. And this is kind of how it's set up. The top 10, really close title battle, and also Rico Bogan, Morgan Pearson, and Sam Dickinson, and Mathis Magirier, and many others still within a theoretical shot of getting into the podium. But we look at the other guys, and these are all guys that came off a second great half of the season. Menno Koolhaas, for example, won the Ironman Arizona in a blistering time under 7.5 hours. Crazy good race from him. Vincent Louis, great race in Dubai, one of the deciding factors, especially on the swim. Then just on Friday, he won the Ironman 70.3 Bahrain in under 3.5 hours. Jonas Schomburg, great season overall, and also a great Ironman 70.3 World Championships. And some other guys like Nico Mann are here as well. So this is really stacked. This is a highly competitive field, and there are a lot of athletes that have not had that much experience in the T100. Somebody like Jonas Schomburg, for example, who's fairly new in the scene in general. And so we will see a very interesting race on Sunday. We have a lot of guys that have not yet competed this season in races against each other. And we also have this race at a point that's very late in the season. So a lot can happen. It's a really interesting race. It's a really hard race to predict, but we're obviously going to try our best and look at how this race could possibly unfold, because there are obviously some consistencies in every race this season, for example, Hayden Wild. But first, I want to look at the course. We start with the swim course. We got a lap, one lap only, no Aussie exit, in the harbor of Lusail, and it's a really straightforward course. It will be a fairly warm one, not as warm as Dubai, but around between 23.5 and 26 degrees is, I think, the forecast for the water temperature. The air will be hotter, 27, 28, 29. It could go into the 30s with relatively low wind, although that might change. Obviously, weather forecasts fairly far outside from the race, not too reliable, but I think it's going to be a hot one, and it's going to be a hot swim as well. Not as hot as Dubai, but still very hot swim. So we will see if there are any splits. In my opinion, there will be before the athletes move on to the bike course. The bike course, 80 kilometers, not 8 laps this time. It's only 4 laps still. A lot to count for the athletes, but obviously it will be easier than Dubai and that entire fiasco. I don't think that will ever happen again. And it's a really straightforward course. It's not as technical as Dubai. It's really flat. So it's also quite exposed to wind. So if there were wind, a lot of wind, it would make a huge difference in this race, especially if there were big head and tailwind sessions, but it doesn't look like it. Fairly straightforward course. It's going to be important to just stay on the front in order to really take the corners how you want to take them, although there aren't as many as in Dubai. And it's going to be important to really push on for some athletes because they want to create some gaps before they move onto the run course. The run course is a harbor course, so we are going around the water. It is asphalt, it is also some sort of cobble, but they seem to be fairly easy to run on. And we've got another 4 laps here. We've got a little run over a bridge or something onto a peninsula, which is quite cool. And that's how we're going to end the season. Now, what exactly will happen? It's really important to try and figure this race out, which is obviously going to be a bit difficult, but we're going to try our best, and I'm going to try to kind of predict and explain what my thinking behind it, how this race could go is. So this swim, for me, Jelle Geens, Hayden Wild, they don't have that top end speed. In my opinion, they, together with somebody like Mika Noot, for example, will not be able to keep up with the front group. I think it will split, just like into Dubai, because we have so many great swimmers here. We've got Schomburg, we've got Louis, and we've got Martin van Riel and some other guys here as well that can make a first group, that can make the swim really fast. And so some guys will be caught out behind. Martin van Riel will definitely also be in the front group together with Morgan Pearson, and a bit of a dark horse, bit of an underrated one. But Menno Koolhaas, in my opinion, will also stay with the front group and could line himself up for a really good bike ride. On the bike ride, we should see a little group on the front and then Hayden Wild coming out, and everybody that comes out of the water with Hayden Wild needs to stick with him. This is especially true for Jelle Geens. If he wants any chance to beat Hayden, he needs to move onto the run course next or a bit in front of Hayden Wild. And so he needs to stay with Hayden over the bike leg, which is obviously easier said than done. But it's kind of the Mika Noot tactic, Mathis Magirier tactic in Dubai that Jelle Geens should also apply here. Just stay with Hayden Wild. You always need to be behind him. He will drag you up to the front and he will just ride his own pace. And if you can stay with him, great. If not, your chance at a win today are almost 0 to none. Mika Noot, Jelle Geens will definitely catch up to the front. I think Mika Noot maybe a bit slower than Geens and the Wild combo, because they're just too good of a bike riders. But also Mika Noot will catch up. And then it's, again, the door is open for behind. It will just be Hayden Wild at the front, making this as hard as possible. And then we move on to the run. And in my opinion, again, Jelle Geens, he needs to move onto the run with or just in front of Hayden Wild. And Hayden Wild should try to get rid of Jelle Geens, because even if I'm Hayden Wild, I would not back myself every day of the week in a run battle against Jelle Geens in that current shape. We saw it against Blumenfeld in the 70.3 World Championships. He is really, really quick and able to run really fast times. And so they should come out of transition 1-2, somewhere around that in the front group. And then it's all about who can actually just run the fastest. It's going to be a technical one again. Everything's flat, so there won't be any uphills where Geens can attack again. But still, Jelle Geens should just stay behind Hayden Wild. Let Hayden drive the pace. He is the favorite for this race. And then at some point try to attack, or maybe even not, because he can back himself. I would definitely back Jelle Geens in a sprint, even against Hayden Wild, even though Hayden Wild is obviously a great short course athlete. But the sprints that Geens has got, it's absolutely incredible. And Hayden Wild, again, he needs to drop him somewhere. I think his best chance, if he doesn't do it on the bike, is just to run a consistently hard tempo, because the attacking style kind of suits Jelle Geens a bit more. And behind, we will see who can stick with them, who can go their own pace. For me, the name that keeps popping into my head is Menno Koolhaas. I think he will have a brilliant race, my kind of dark horse for maybe a podium, definitely a top 5, top 10 region. Other favorites include, for me, Mika Noot, Jonas Schomburg. He can also do really, really well here. Martin van Riel can also have a great run. So there's a lot of contention for who can still be on the podium in the top 3, and this matters because in Qatar you obviously have 1.5 times the points, so you need every position for that overall world title classification. And for me, Jelle Geens wins this race. A bit of a bold one, but I think he will be able to outrun, out-sprint Hayden Wild somehow and win this race, but Hayden Wild will come second, and so he wins the overall. For me, Menno Koolhaas is third. Bit of a bold one, but I think he is just able to run so good, so consistently, and he will be able to finish on the podium. Rico Bogen, Mika Noot, Jonas Schomburg, Morgan Pearson, and Martin van Riel, all candidates for a top 10, as well as some other people. There's so many great athletes here. Again, this race is very unpredictable. I tried my best to kind of foreshadow a bit what could happen if Hayden Wild is just a level better above everybody else. We will have no race after kilometer 30 on the bike when he's on the front and dropped everybody. But I think that people will be able to stick with him and that the decision will be made on the run course onto who will win the last race of the season and who will become the overall world champion. It's going to be a really interesting race. You should follow this all throughout the entire race from start to finish. I will also predict the women's race later on this week on Wednesday, so just 2 days before the race when we have a bit of a more reliable weather forecast and everything. And I hope you liked this one. Stay tuned for the analysis coming obviously straight after the race on Sunday, and I'll see you with the next one really soon. Bye bye.